Good morning. Could you please state and spell your name for the record?
Brian, B-R-I-A-N, Josephine, Josephine.
And what's your date of birth, sir?
June 13th, 1990.
And where do you work?
I work at the Duxbury Police Department.
How long have you been a police officer?
I started there in April of 2020.
And did you work for the Plymouth Police before that?
Yes, I did.
And how long did you do that?
Almost 5 years.
What is your current role?
I am patrol officer.
Back in January of 2023, what was your role with the Duxbury Police Department?
I was the school resource officer for Alden and Chandler. I work with kids, kindergarten through 5th grade.
Directing your attention specifically to January 24th, 2023, were you working an overtime shift that day?
Yes, I had picked up an overtime shift.
And what shift was that?
It was 4 to midnight, but I was scheduled to work till 8 p.m.
8 p.m.?
Yes, ma'am.
So you were scheduled to be there from 4 p.m. to 8 p.m., is that correct?
That is correct.
And you were in a cruiser, in a marked cruiser in a uniform?
Yes, I was fully dressed in Duxbury Police uniform. I was in a marked cruiser, Duxbury Police 172. And
did you receive a dispatch at approximately 6:11 p.m. to go to 47 Summer Street in Duxbury?
Yes, we did.
And when you say we, were you with a partner or were you alone?
No, I was by myself. We ride single in a cruiser there.
Okay. So when you say we, do you mean that it was dispatched to all officers on patrol?
So usually with critical incidents calls, they put it over to dispatch and they'll say, Duxbury police cars, start making your way to a certain address. That way everyone can get there as quickly as possible.
Okay. And so then you knew at that point to go to 47 Summer Street?
Yes, ma'am.
And approximately how long did it take you to get there?
I would say anywhere from 3 to 4 minutes.
So you were relatively close by when you received the dispatch?
Yes, I was.
Okay. And when you arrived at 47 Summer Street, what did you observe?
Dispatch was giving me description of the house. It took probably 15 seconds for me to identify the house. Parked in the street. I saw the number of the house and I made my way. I believe it was a mudroom that I went to.
Exhibit 33. When you say the mudroom that you went to, did you actually go inside of the house or did you go to the door to the mudroom?
I went to the door to the mudroom to check if that was unlocked so I could make my way to the back of the house.
And is that door depicted in this photograph?
Yes, it is.
And is it the door to the left of the garage?
Yes, it is.
And was the door locked or unlocked?
It was locked at that time.
So what did you do next?
I radioed dispatch just for confirmation of where that party we were trying to get to was located. They told me it was around back of the house, so I tried to make my way that way.
And when you went to the back of the house, how did you get there?
Well, referring back to the picture where the car was parked, I went to the right side, and I went around the garage. There was a fence, and I went over the fence, I believe.
So showing you Exhibit 33, again, you went by these cars and around the house to the right.
Yes, that's correct.
Showing you Exhibit 37, does that mean that you would have been coming around the house over here by the garage on the left and in the porch, the deck?
Yes, that's correct.
And when you came around there, what did you see?
I made my way. I observed two parties, one lying in the ground and one standing over it. And I started making my way towards the other end of the house, which is towards this fence, as you guys can see in reference to that photo.
And so when you say the other end of the house, are you talking about this area here, the father's furthest right windows?
Yes, that is correct.
The person that was standing, did you later learn that was Patrick Clancy?
Yes, I did.
And the person on the ground, did you later learn that was Lindsay Clancy?
Yes, I did.
And at some point in time, was Officer Hall also back there with you?
Yes, he came from this side over here, the opposite direction in which I came.
So facing the house, he would have come around the left side of the house if you're facing the house?
Yes, he parked on the street and came from this side, the opposite of where I came from.
Okay. Do you recall what Patrick Clancy was doing when you first saw him?
He was standing over Lindsay at that point. It appeared that he was trying to communicate with her. I observed him with a cell phone. It was kind of down by his side, so I don't know if they were talking or what, but it was probably a split second, and then he turned in my location saw me because I was illuminating the yard with my flashlight. And then that's when me and him crossed paths.
Okay. And so you said you saw him with his cell phone by his side. Was it in his hand by his side?
Yes, I believe is in his left hand.
Okay. And you say you crossed paths with him. Approximately where did you cross paths with him?
It was probably right by the bulkhead, I would say.
So in the photograph to the right of the deck is the bulkhead.
That is correct.
And where was he headed?
He was heading, I believe, up towards the deck. Yeah, obviously I didn't know it at that time, but he was just walking past me pretty fast in an abrupt manner. So.
And did he say anything to you as he passed?
No, he did not.
And after you passed with Patrick, where did you go?
I went to the female party.
And did you speak to her?
I attempted to.
And what did you say?
I just was trying to get basic information, where she was hurt, where she needed attention, anything I could do to kind of help her until fire arrived.
And did she respond to your questions?
She mumbled, and it wasn't a definitive answer.
Did you observe any injuries?
Yes, she was laying on the ground. There was cuts to her right wrist, I believe, and to the right side of her neck.
And were those cuts actively bleeding at that time?
They were bleeding, but not profusely.
Are you trained in first aid?
Yes.
Did you feel the need to put pressure on those wounds immediately?
No. We also carry medical equipment, such as tourniquet, gauze, stuff like that, and I believe due to circumstances that I didn't need to utilize those tools.
And the tourniquet that you carry, is that in case someone has some type of cut where an artery has been damaged or cut?
Yes, it is.
Okay. And you're trained to recognize when it's something serious like an artery spraying blood everywhere versus a cut that doesn't need a tourniquet?
Yes, we are.
Okay. And you didn't see the need for a tourniquet?
I did not know.
And based on your training in first aid and as a police officer, as a first responder, did those wounds appear life-threatening?
No, they did not.
Did other emergency personnel from the fire department begin to arrive?
Yes, so I would say I tried to talk to Ms. Clancy for probably 30 seconds to a minute, and at that point, coming from that opposite side of the house, I observed Duxbury fire personnel show up, and our protocol is to kind of turn the medical over to them because they're more highly trained than we are.
Okay. And at some point in time, do you hear something?
Yes.
What do you hear?
Myself and Officer Hall were standing by that window, and we just started hearing loud screams.
And what did you do when you heard those loud screams?
We immediately were trying to figure out where they were coming from. I'm not sure if dispatch or something came over the air and said something about the basement, but we both just started making our way back towards the deck part of the house.
Did you go in through the sliding glass doors?
Yes, we went up the deck and through the sliding glass doors into the kitchen.
And did you then head to the basement?
Yes.
Could you hear any sounds coming from the basement as you entered the kitchen?
Yes, it was the exact screaming that I heard from the window.
Did you go down the stairs to the basement?
Yes, we did.
And did you see anything as you went down the stair after you went down the stairs?
So we went down the stairs, and there was a picture at the bottom of the stairs, I believe, of Lindsay and Patrick. And the basement splits off into two, a right and a left area. And the screams were coming from the right area. So that's where we directed our attention to first.
Did you see Patrick?
Yes. That right side opens up, and it's like 2 rooms, I believe. So we went into the first room, which was kind of dark, and there was some cluttered stuff around, and Patrick was in that back room at the time.
Is that the doorway into that back room?
Yes, it is.
And then Exhibit 93, is that the inside of that back room?
Yes, it is.
Do you recall what, if anything, Patrick was saying as you encountered him?
Upon his observation of us, myself and Officer Hall, he proceeded to head in our direction, leaving that room. And at that point, he looked up and he screamed, "She killed the fucking kids."
After he said that, where did you go?
Once he cleared himself from the doorframe, we were able to look inside the room where we observed what appeared to be a child laying motionless on the floor.
And did you later learn his name was Dawson Clancy?
Yes, I did. He was laying on his back, kind of close to the gym bag for reference of that.
Showing you Exhibit 93 again, reference to gym bag. Is that the bag to the left of the pack, the child's toy?
Yes.
You're saying that he was in that area when you first saw him?
Yes, he was.
And do you recall whether he was on his back or his stomach or something else?
He was on his back.
And do you recall his physical appearance?
Like I said, he was laying on his back. His head was tilted to the right-hand side. Looked at him kind of in the face area once we got closer, and his face was white, gray. Lips were blue. Eyes were bloodshot. Looked like blood vessels were popped in his eyes.
Did you notice any injuries to his neck?
Seeing that, my first instinct was to kind of grab his head and tilt it to the side, see if I could get a pulse. But, I mean, based on my training experience from previous incidents, I knew it wasn't going to be good. So I moved the head. That's where I observed some red marks on that right-hand side.
Of the neck?
Yes.
In that exhibit, 94, there was a yellow exercise band, correct?
Yes.
I believe in prior testimony, you may have called it a blue exercise band. Is that correct?
Yes.
But it's clearly yellow in the photo, right?
Yes, it's clearly yellow. I mean, there was...
Testing the color of the exercise band.
Right, good.
So what was your focus at the time?
The child.
Once you saw him there with these injuries, what did you do?
Based on my observations, I knew there wasn't really much I could do. So I picked the child up, went chest to chest, and as I did that, there was kind of like a mucus or a foam that leaked out of his mouth onto me. I grabbed him, went back towards the way we came down into the basement, and I headed up to the stairs where Sergeant Homestead was coming down the stairs, and I started yelling to him to get out of the way. Went back up the stairs, and then into the kitchen, directly adjacent to the stairs. There's the front foyer, like hallway, and I went out the main door into the driveway.
And was there an ambulance in the driveway at that time?
Yes, the ambulance was backing up and had pretty much just parked, and one of the fire was walking around to the stretcher out back. So I rushed over with Dawson, and I put him on the stretcher, and that's when Sergeant Homestead and fire personnel started working further on him.
What did you do next?
I went back into the house.
And why did you go back into the house?
I remember hearing something about kids and multiple, and I just went back.
And when you went back in the house, did you go to the basement?
Yes, I went back in that front door, back down to the basement, and this time I went to the left-hand side.
And when you went to the left-hand side of the basement, what did you see?
Pretty much directly in my sight was an older female laying on the ground, and then in the corner there was like a younger baby.
And when you say an older female, you're referring to that she was older than Dawson?
That's correct.
Did you later learn her name was Cora Clancy?
I did.
And did you assist in treating her?
Yes, I did.
What did you do?
So when I got down to the basement, 2 fire personnel were already on scene. One was working on the baby and one was working on Cora. Communicated with them. We worked together, and I took over doing chest compressions of Cora.
And were you able to see any injuries on Cora at that time?
Yes. She had kind of the same injuries that I explained with Dawson. The pale tint, bluish lips, bloodshot eyes, blood vessels popped. But this time she also had like dried blood around her mouth.
And did you also see an area of blood near her on the floor?
Yes, there was a relatively large area of blood on the floor. Actually doing CPR on her, see through my pants, so I ended up moving her a little off to the side so I could position myself better.
This red brown stain on the rug.
Yes.
While you were doing chest compressions on Cora, what was the firefighter doing?
The one that had previously been attending to Cora then went to the child that was in the corner.
Was Cora put on a stretcher and brought out?
Yes, eventually. I think the baby was brought out first because I think they mentioned at some point they might have found like a faint pulse or something like that. So they got him out first, and then we were able to get Cora up.
So that entire time while you're in the basement, are you still giving chest compressions to Cora?
Yes. Yeah. I mean, it felt like forever, to the point where I think I radioed for assistance for another officer to come down.
And did others come down to assist?
Yes, Officer Cahill came down to further assist, where I continued with chest compressions and he used a bag valve mask to give rescue breaths.
And a bag valve mask, is that something that goes over someone's face, a mask that's attached to a bag and you squeeze it to give air?
Yes, it's an alternative breathing apparatus.
At some point, do you go back upstairs to the first floor?
Yes.
And do you encounter Patrick Clancy when you go upstairs?
Yes, so when they removed Cora, myself and Officer Cahill went back upstairs where I encountered Mr. Clancy in the kitchen.
And what was his demeanor in the kitchen?
He was still frantic, kind of in shock, still screaming and losing himself. And I think at that point, I don't know, one of us requested that we get an ambulance for him as well.
Thank you, sir. Nothing further.
Attorney Reddington?
I'm sorry, I have no questions.
All right. Thank you, sir. Lisa. Thank you.
Someone calls PJ Hussey.
Your Honor, at this point, I'm objecting, renewing my objection that I filed on the repetitious
All right, if I can see the sidebar.
Back to the trial of Commonwealth versus Lindsay Clancy. All parties are present, including the defendant and the 18 jurors.